everybody, welcome back to My Big Sister podcast. My name is Grace and this is my big sister Josie.
And in today's episode we're going to be talking all about how to grow your social media.
I feel like we've mentioned talking about this topic for a while since we did our influencer industry episode in season 1, but today we're going to be diving into like how we both started posting on social media, all of our tips and tricks, and like if any of you guys out there are wanting to post online or even make it your job like me, then hopefully we can help you guys out this week with all of our tips and tricks. Okay, so I feel like I grew up with social media. Like I do remember life without it, but like most of my kind of early teenage memories and all my teenage years, I had social media as a form of like communication and stuff. So I feel like I grew up knowing what like a YouTuber was and like kind of seeing it as like a thing that you could do for your job, whereas you are 10 years older than me, as I feel like we mention that in every episode.
That's
but
like
just in case anyone's new, Josie is my big sister, so I feel like you have a bit more of a mature look on things.
That's putting it nice.
Yeah. But so you grew up without social media. So when you were in school, like what year in your school life did you have, or did you not have social media at all in school?
No, so I didn't have social media in school. Oh, we had like Bebo. Do you know what that is?
Is that like MySpace?
Well, it was like after MySpace, or it was more like the UK version of MySpace.
Yeah.
And it was like you could choose your
it's
top
like your
friends.
own website sort of thing.
Yeah, you said you had your own page, and it was kind of like an early version of social media. And you could have your top friends, which always caused arguments, and you had one heart each day that you could give away to people.
Wow.
And so everyone would always get like annoyed at each other, like if you gave like one of your friends more hearts than the other, and it would cause a lot of drama.
But
I feel like that was very sort of innocent, like it doesn't seem as toxic or damaging as,
but I feel like if you were like older
now.
during that, like I mean maybe you were too young, but I feel like that's quite intense to like rank your friends.
Yeah, and that you could do that on MySpace as well. So I think that was weirdly
but I
like
remember
a thing.
when I was first on Instagram, people would put their friends in their bio, just like they'd choose to write it, and that would be in order. So it's literally like the same thing would happen like 5 years later.
Yeah, when did that stop happening? That's weird. I don't know.
I feel like that must still happen in like year 6 and year 7. I don't know if we just don't see it anymore because we're too old.
But I do remember when Facebook first came out, because I was one of the first out of my friends to get on Facebook, and everyone was like, what is that? And then when I first joined it, I thought it was like too much like privacy concerns to put my real name on it, so I put my name as Josie Brown.
Wow.
I don't know why. And everyone, I guess because I have brown hair, and so I would like add my friends and they would be like, who's Josie Brown? And I was really embarrassed, and then I finally changed it to my real name.
Back in the day, like adults were like so scared of the internet and their children on the internet. Like I feel like everyone would be like, your digital footprint. And I remember when I was little and like imagining a physical footprint and being like really confused what everyone was talking about, like your digital footprint. But I feel like nowadays people just share everything online. Like,
well, in a way I kind of wish that I was more concerned about that, because after a while I just sort of stopped caring, and that was the era of posting big photo albums up onto Facebook. And because I had like a good camera, I was usually the one in charge of doing that, because people weren't really uploading from their phones because phone cameras weren't very good, so you had to have like a digital camera that you would upload separately with like your SD card and stuff.
Back in the day I used to watch like you and our other sister Daisy, you'd like go to your friend's house and then come back with like an SD card full of photos, and then you'd upload them all like night at Danny's house, and it would be like,
and then there'd be arguments about if you uploaded like an ugly photo of your friend and then you tagged them, people would get really annoyed.
But you would upload like 100 or like 200 pictures, or you wouldn't like pick one like how on Instagram you pick the perfect, you would just post anything.
You would post a document of the whole event.
It was just like the whole camera roll from that event. It was like there was no real limit, no editing. It was just like random. And I feel like even now if I go on some people that are like older than me's Facebook, I can still see everything on their Facebook from that time.
I mean, my Facebook is private, like only my friends can see it, but I was looking on there the other day actually just to randomly like stalk my old self, and I was like, whoa, why do I still have some available. Of these things?
And I love a good Facebook stalk. Like, I feel like whenever one of my friends has a new boyfriend or anything, I feel like I'm like the designated person in the friend group that's like good at finding out info. So I always go on Facebook.
But do you feel like people of your generation even use Facebook? Because I don't use it anymore.
It's like if you're stalking their this sounds so bad. If you're stalking like the boy's mum or like their sibling, and then they're older, they have more pictures. Oh my god! I feel like I'm maybe gonna get in trouble for stalking, but I feel like that's such a common thing. I feel like when your friend has like a crush on someone and there's no information, you have to go on the Facebook, because where else are you gonna find out their mum's birthday? You need to know.
Yeah.
And you might find like their mum's posted a picture of their old girlfriend, and you can find out info like that.
Oh my god! I definitely don't do any of this.
Yeah, well, that's why you should be more careful about what you post online, because there's weird people like me who are gonna look at those things. Be careful.
But so for you, do you feel like you grew up sort of thinking of social media as a potential job? Like, do you think you always had that in your head when you were young?
Well, I remember watching like the first wave of YouTubers, and what got me into it was my older sister Daisy. She was like really into it, and she's like 6 years older than me, so I think it must have been when I was literally like 8 years old, and then she was like 14, so she was really like, she was online a lot, and she would watch like Zoella and Sprinkle of Glitter and all these YouTubers. And I remember it was like before we had phones, so we would just watch it on the computer at home. We had like a desktop computer in the kitchen, and I remember at the time our Wi-Fi at home was so bad that to load a YouTube video you'd have to sit and like leave it for like an hour to load the 10-minute video. Bar. Yeah, I remember literally as a child like sitting so close to the screen and watching each individual pixel on the computer like move one like every 10 seconds, and we would sit there for ages waiting
damage your eyes doing that.
Yeah, and you think now like if you just press on a YouTube video it just works, but back then it was like it was more like distant, it wasn't so like instant.
But I think that is kind of the aspect that feels a little bit more why it's become a dangerous thing now, or it's just too easy to do, whereas before, like, obviously you're not going to sit there all day doing that if it takes if it's so much effort to load a video.
And I feel like you would like rewatch the video once it had loaded and you got that little grey bar at the bottom, you could like rewatch it, and you'd like spend time in the comment section and like really like it almost
like adds more memory to it, or like adds more value to it, whereas now you could probably watch like 20 YouTube videos and you don't know a few hours and you can't remember what you watched.
I remember one of my earliest memories of watching those YouTubers was our whole family went to Westfield shopping centre one weekend. I don't know if you were there. I think maybe it was when you were at uni maybe, but I remember we didn't have phones, and Daisy's friend called her, our sister Daisy, one of her friends called her like, have you seen Zoella's new blog post? Like, oh my god, it's crazy. And we were in a shopping centre, so Daisy was like, oh my god, I can't get to
Wi-Fi in shopping centres wasn't a thing.
Well, you weren't like, do you remember back those really old phones? You weren't allowed to press the internet button because it was so expensive to press the little internet thing, and it wouldn't even work. So we couldn't look it up. So then Daisy made our whole family go to the Apple store so that she could search Zoella on the computer. And I remember going on there and she searched it up, and it was a Zoella blog post about her like anxiety, and it was the first ever time she'd spoken about her anxiety. And I remember to this day the blog post was called like Just Say Yes, and she got like a bracelet that said Just Say Yes, and the blog post was about like opening up about her anxiety. It might have even been before Zoella had YouTube videos, because this was like her blog we were reading, like her own website. And I remember like being stood in Westfield and being like, wow, this is crazy. Like, so I feel like I definitely learned to watch YouTube and like be obsessed with all these people from my older sister. I don't know if you were watching YouTube back then. Were you? It's probably when you were at uni, like 2012, 2013.
I guess I was, but I don't think it would have been as like fundamental to my like growing up.
I guess like all those YouTubers were catering to like younger people back then.
And I was just too busy like
you're like a similar age probably to Zoella, so at
I was
the
too
time,
busy going out.
Yeah, you were like not interested in the same things we were interested in.
But I do remember Zoella, like I did watch a bit of her, but I think maybe I felt, even though she is actually my age, I felt like the content was a bit too young for me maybe.
Yeah. But yeah, I feel like I would see them posting, but I still didn't really understand that it could be a job at first. And I used to like try and copy her. Like I found all these videos of me when I was like 8, like vlogging, and like I don't even know if that's when YouTube was even a thing.
When
like,
you say, hey guys, but there was no one there.
Yeah, I'm just like talking to myself. But yeah, back in the day, I would always try and like make little home videos and like edit them on Movie Maker on the computer. But I feel like the first time I realised that YouTubers get paid and that it could be a job was, I don't think you're going to remember this because I think you're too old. Do you remember Dan and Phil?
Yeah.
Okay. They had this scandal, I don't know when it was, maybe like 2014, and Dan and Phil and a few other YouTubers all did these ad videos on their YouTube channels for Oreos.
Right.
And it was this thing where they were like on this bouncy castle doing like a race, but they didn't back then no one disclosed their ads.
Well, there was laws about it.
Yeah, there was no laws that you had to write the word ad in the UK. Now, if you do an ad, you have to write the word ad, otherwise you'll get fined. But back then there was like no rules about it because it was such a new thing. Like no one realised you know, making all this money from social media. And yeah, Dan and Phil, I remember, did this Oreo video, and then there was like uproar from all the parents because they were like, this is clearly an advertisement and it's not been like, and all the children were like wanting to get this, I think it was like Oreo cereal or something, I don't know, but back then it was like the big thing, it was like a big scandal that no one disclosed the ad. And then I think is when the government like changed the laws around advertising. And I remember then as a kid I was like really confused, like, oh, they get paid? I felt a bit like, oh, I thought they were just doing all these videos for the fun vibes. Like, I thought they were like, you know, doing it because they love the products. And then I think that's when I started to realise, like, oh, some of these people might just be lying, you know, to get paid for it.
And it wasn't a commonly known thing back then. I guess it was so new that most people probably didn't realise that.
Even now, like me making money on social media, which we'll get to, even people now like question my job and like they're like, how do you make money? So I can't imagine like back then how weird it must have seemed for those, like for Dan and Phil to be making these like little YouTube videos and like getting paid for it.
Even though now it is so common, and I think most people now kind of understand. There's a million ads everywhere that people see the same ads all the time, and I think it's generally understood, kind of, at least what how it works. Means, but then people still don't really get that you actually do it as a job. Yeah,
like I feel like people still don't understand that it's like my full-time job and like I'm able to pay my bills with just the money I make from social media. But yeah, anyway, let's get to that. I feel like we should talk about that. So obviously, I grew up watching YouTube, and then what happened with me was I always had these random Instagram accounts and YouTube channels where I would post like silly videos and then I'd delete them.
Louise Beauty.
Yeah, I used to have one called Louise Beauty.
I remember that one.
I had one called Grace Louisa. I had all sorts of accounts. I had one called Pastel Louise.
I don't remember Pastel Louise.
Pastel Louise. Maybe you weren't, following that account. I had all sorts. Like I remember in 2014, it was the trend of like, that book, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, and everyone's Instagram was like The Perks of Being Grace, or like their name. It would be like The Perks of, and like there was just this whole trend. There was like the Tumblr era. There was the like. There's just so many eras of the internet I feel like I've been involved in and had like accounts for, but I always grew up having all these random accounts, and like sometimes I'd share them with people from school, and sometimes they'd be like secret accounts. I remember once in year 7 I had like an edit account where I'd do like goth edits of people. That was like a big trend. Like I would like edit them with like piercings on their face and tattoos and stuff. I remember I did one of Daisy. Random. Yeah, and then I would edit, there was this big thing of like PixArt, the editing app, and I would edit like, you'd like put your tongue out and make your tongue like strawberry texture and like all these like silly little edits that would be like Instagram famous, and I would try and like recreate them. But yeah, so I always grew up like making these funny accounts and stuff. But then I had like a private Instagram for most of my years in school, and then when I actually downloaded TikTok in 2019. I remember like people from my school had Musical.ly, which is what it used to be called back in the day, and I remember downloading Musical.ly once, like I think I was in year 11, so I was like 15, and I remember I saw my friend Talia, who, shout out Talia if you're listening to this, I remember Talia had an account and she would do dance videos, but I was like, oh no, I couldn't, I was too embarrassed. I was like, I can't do that, I can't film myself with because Musical.ly was very much like
it was just all dancing, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I remember Talia made some, and I was like, oh, I wish I could be like Talia on the app, but yeah, I deleted it after that, and I was like, no, I don't like Musical.ly, like, it's not for me. And then a few years later in 2019, I remember I downloaded TikTok because it got, like, I think 2 companies like merged together and then it became TikTok. I don't really know why I downloaded it or like where I found out about the app from.
I only found out about it in 2020 when everyone was already kind of getting on it. I had it
in 2019 when I was still in college, and I remember downloading it, and there was all these like, it's really like old school TikToks now when I think about it, but like there's these specific videos I found like so funny, and I hadn't seen anything like that since like when Vine was a thing, and you'd have those funny videos on Vine, and I remember telling my friend Tia, who's like still one of my best friends now, I remember we went like to go get pizza on our lunch break from sixth form, and I was like, look at this app, and I like showed her all my like liked videos, and I was like, this is so funny, and then she downloaded it, and that day we made a TikTok and I posted it, and that day I still have the TikTok now. It's like, come with
is
me
it on your
account
pizza now?
Yeah, it's from like 2019. I think it's private now. I think I'll show you though.
I want to see it.
But yeah, I think that was like one of my first ever TikTok video. And then I made one about making pasta, and then I made one about my car crashing, because I crashed my car that year.
Oh my God.
I crashed my car right at the start of 2020 in like February, and I made a video about the like courtesy car I got. I was trying to flex my courtesy car that I got. I got like a 2020 plate Fiat 500 when I crashed my car from my insurance company, and I got to drive it for like a week, so I did like a car tour.
Did you pretend that it was your car in
the
video?
No, I think I said it because I made a video about like me crashing my car. Anyway, those were my first few videos, and I remember the car video did really well. Really well. It got like 10k views, but at the time, and when you've got no followers, like getting that many views is crazy. Good. And I went into school the next day and I was like, oh, I'm famous. Like, no, I didn't actually say that, but I remember my friend Gus at the lunch table at sixth form was like asking me like, oh, I saw your TikTok, and I was like, wow, I got loads of views.
How did he see it?
I think he must have been following me on TikTok by then. But yeah, I just remember like talking about it with my friends in sixth form, like, this is so funny, I got this many views. And then I think I've told this story before, but in business class then, like that week or something, all the boys like found my TikTok and like showed everyone the videos, and then I got so embarrassed, I deleted them all, and then I was like, I'm not going to post on TikTok again because it's too embarrassing.
That's so sad, especially the fear.
Well, I privated them, so I've still got them, I can still see them.
You should put them back
I'm glad
online.
I didn't delete them because I've still got the actual original copies, but yeah, I deleted them, and I was like, oh, I'm not posting again, like this is too embarrassing. So I didn't post, but I was still using TikTok, and I was still like commenting on things and liking videos, and I was like on it all the time. And then we went into lockdown in that March, and then I decided like, well, there's no boys at school to make fun of me at the moment because school has been cancelled. So I just started posting again, and I posted videos about Gossip Girl because I was rewatching it because it got added to Netflix in lockdown, and I started posting videos about like Serena van der Woodsen's outfits, and then one of those blew up and got like 100k views, and I was like, oh my god, okay, so this sort of video does well. So I was like, okay, I can make another video about Gossip Girl because I was rewatching it. I really loved the show at the time, so I was like, I'm gonna make another video about this. That did well. And then just every video I post would get like at least 10k views, which at the time was like crazy to me. And then I basically just became a Gossip Girl TikToker, and I really loved the show, so I loved it. And you know when you're watching a show and you want like friends to talk about like what episode you're on, it was so good because everyone in my TikTok comments, we were like, you know, talking about the show together, and because none of my family were watching it with me, so I was just watching it by myself in lockdown, so it was actually nice to like have people to talk
and I feel
about
like
a show with.
Engagement on TikTok was so much higher back then. Like everyone would just like randomly comment,
and it would always be like, for you page, people would comment.
Yeah,
like,
FYP.
You're on my FYP. It would be like a thing, like, wow, you got on the for you page. Like that was such like a thing. Like it almost seemed like this privilege of like.
When I first joined, I think I had posted a video and then all the comments just said FYP, and I didn't know what it meant. Yeah. And I was so confused, like what's going on?
Yeah. Whereas now I feel like basically any TikTok video is going to be on the FYP. Like no one ever really goes on.
Well, that's
like,
the whole point of the
tab. Yeah.
Like that's the only thing people do, really. Do you ever go on the following tab on TikTok? I don't.
I go on it like very little.
Sometimes I do, and then or I don't realise I have, and I'm like, why are all these TikToks so boring? And it's not because the people I follow are boring, it's just like not every video that they
like
post is going to be something you want to
follow
watch.
That you don't even know who it is
Yeah,
anymore.
yeah.
Like people you followed years ago, yeah. But yeah, so I started posting Gossip Girl TikToks, which I know some of you guys that maybe even listening to this followed me back then, which is crazy because I was quite a strange child. I was like 17 and just a bit awkward, but I feel like everyone was, like, if you were younger then. But I started posting, and then I decided to start posting on Instagram, and then I made my Instagram public, and then it just all grew from there. And basically I kind of transitioned out of the Gossip Girl stuff because I wanted to do just more like general fashion, because at first all my videos were about Gossip Girl fashion, but then it became more just like about the show, and I was like, no, okay, I want to do more like fashion because I've always loved fashion. And I started doing fashion videos, and then I sort of grew from that to doing more like body positivity, and now I just kind of do a mix of everything, really.
Do you think if lockdown hadn't happened, you wouldn't have started your social media?
I don't think so, no, because as you could tell, I was so embarrassed when those boys found my account, and like, if lockdown hadn't have happened, I would have probably gone to uni that year and probably been too embarrassed to post, if people at uni would see. It makes you
think, like, because I think a lot of influencers who are big now did start around lockdown.
Almost everyone I know, everyone I ever speak to at events, it's always like, so when did you start social media? And everyone has the same answer.
Yeah.
I feel like if it was kind of like TikTok in 2020 was the same like crazy scenario as like YouTube in 2012. Like, if you were there and if you were posting, you were gonna do well. And it was like, I felt like back in the day I'd missed the boat with YouTube, and I always used to think to myself like, oh, I should have started a channel when first Zoella was making a channel, and like I would have been as big as her. And I always was like regretting, like, I should have started a YouTube channel back then. But then now I'm like, well, I'm actually kind of glad I didn't, because I'm glad that I started a TikTok in 2020, because I feel like that was like, a really great opportunity to like have
even
lots
I
of people
managed
seeing
to grow my TikTok in 2020.
Yeah, so what is your story with social media in general and like posting? Because you don't post, you have a normal job, whereas I'm an influencer.
I have a full-time job, but there was a period in 2020 and 2021 where I was posting a lot, and I think I was hoping that I could somehow make it into a job eventually, but because I posted art content, it was a bit more niche and a bit more specific, and I found it quite difficult to figure out how to monetize that. And also I think for me personally, I just always found like posting art stuff always quite stressful, because you have to like create the art, you have to film it every time you're creating, so it would kind of ruin the process of creating a little bit. It's not like a
hobby anymore.
It kind of took away the hobby, and then it took away the fun, because everyone was like, oh, you should try and make money from it, or you should sell your art, blah blah blah, and everyone was always just like how can you make money from this, you've got loads of followers, like you should be like figuring out how to make money from it. And I feel like that kind of stressed me out, and it kind of
takes
ruined
away
the fun.
Like playfulness.
And I think that eventually kind of just wore me down a bit, and I actually did stop posting for like 2 years because I was just sick of it by the end, and like having to chase the constant like algorithm changes and all of that. It just became a bit stressful. So
and it's so hard to grow your social media if you have a full-time job.
I
feel like that's the main thing as well. Like,
it is a full-time job to create that much content. In your like
free time, you'd maybe want to do art to relax, but then it was like, then it became a job, and then you were working all the time, because your free time then was spent making TikToks.
And I was a freelancer for a while, so I was kind of fitting it in around my freelance work, but even then it did feel like I was just working all the time. I was making a YouTube video every week, I was trying to post every day on socials, and it just became quite stressful and not fun anymore. And so now I have a very different view of it, and I still have an okay following. It's nothing crazy, but like I don't really care. Like I like posting, like at the moment I'm posting a lot of like knitting YouTube videos, and
Josie loves her knit. Did you knit that jumper you're wearing today? I did. For anyone watching on video, look at that lovely sweater vest. And I just like doing it now because I like just connecting with people who are interested in the same things as me. And like I don't really have that many people who knit in my real life, so that at the moment that's what I'm using social media for, is like genuinely like
what it was originally supposed to be, which is
just to
be social with people around the world and like have a bit of a community. And I think that for me is a lot more sustainable, and in my head that I find that a lot like more healthy mentally.
It feels nicer when it's a two-way conversation than just you stood on a podium like shouting out to people. Like it's nicer when it's, you know, you're
and I don't think I'm trying to make it into a business or anything at the moment. I'm just enjoying doing it. So I think that, you know, that is another mindset to be in as well. I don't think everyone who has a social media account should be like, yes, I'm going to make this my full-time job, because it's really, really hard, especially if you already have a full-time job, or if you're
at school, or if you have kids or anything.
And it's so up and down, and it is a massive risk, and obviously you've taken that risk and it's paid off, but you had the circumstances where you could do that.
I had
like
all the
you were at uni, you had free time, you don't have a kid, you don't have like responsibilities like that, or you didn't when you started, that made it a lot easier. And I'm sure there's lots of people listening to this who might be thinking like, maybe I should try and do that, but I would just say like, be aware that it is quite difficult. It's not just like super easy to do. It takes a lot of hard work.
I think it's a hard conversation, because on one half of me I'm like, it's the easiest job I've ever had, and like I'm very honest about that online. Like the people I see online that are content creators that are like crying about how stressful it is and stuff, I do think, okay, the job, it's hard work, yes, but it's not like physically demanding. There are so many jobs that are very physically demanding, so it's better in that way. You're not like running around on your feet all day like a nurse, and you're not doing heavy lifting like a builder or something. Number two, it's very well paid for the amount of like work you're doing. Like I honestly think I shouldn't be earning the same as a nurse or a doctor, but some influencers earn even more than those very important jobs. But the thing that does come with the job that is quite, you know, annoying about it is like privacy issues, which I think people don't even realise. I think if you are starting to post online, that's something you really do need to be careful with. If you're in school, do not post yourself in school uniform. If you have kids, I mean, I would say don't post your kids if you don't, you know.
Don't post any views out of your window,
think hard about it. And
walking down the street so that you can see where you live.
Yeah, don't post your front door. Don't even, I mean, I wouldn't even post like what town you live in, or especially if you have kids, like what town your kids go to school in. There's so many things, because it only takes one weirdo. And I think even like these smaller micro influencers, I see a lot of these stories on TikTok where they've been stalked, people have come to their home, people have tried to pick up their kids from school, and the school thinks that they're a relation because they know everything about the kid. It's like, yeah, I know the kid's birthday, I know where the kid's mum lives.
That's so dangerous. And like, they should not be doing that.
It is really scary, especially with the child vloggers, where it's like those people that are watching literally could answer all the like security questions ever about you. So I think that's definitely something to really consider, and that's one of the downsides of the job. But obviously one of the great things about being a content creator is all the freedom you get, and like working for yourself. It's the same way of anyone that works for themselves. Like I don't have to wake up early, which is great. I can, you know, if my friend wants to meet for lunch one day, I can just go and I'll just catch up on my work stuff in the evening. Also, there's a lot of perks to the job, like getting invited to cool events and like getting gifted clothes and things. And I think it is a really good job. But as I said, there are so many cons and pros to consider, and also things like doing your own taxes. I feel like that's a thing that a lot of people starting out don't realise. I know if you're in the UK, as soon as you start earning over £1,000 a year in like income that you've earned by yourself, you have to do a tax return then and declare it and do it all properly. And that's something that I feel like so many like micro influencers don't realise and don't do. And then if you get found out, you can be like fined and you'll have to pay back any tax that you owe, and it can be a very stressful process if you don't know what you're doing.
Do you find that you get like affected by the analytics and the numbers? Do you kind of obsess over that? Because I feel like that was, for me, when I was really into it, that was what was kind of mentally quite draining for me.
Yeah, it is hard. And I think when I first started posting, I was much more into that, and like when it's like a dopamine rush when you're growing your account, especially. I feel like
and then a dopamine crash when you don't get it.
I think when I was first kind of like blowing up on TikTok, like when some of my first videos went viral and on Reels on Instagram, and then you'd blow up and you'd get loads of views, and then you might lose followers after that video, and I would be very like watching it all the time. And I remember like there was a certain amount of views I would expect to get within half an hour of an Instagram post, and if I didn't get that amount of likes in half an hour, I'd be like, oh no, like that. I would even sometimes delete the post. I'd be like, oh, this post is so wrong, I'm just gonna delete it now, like this is embarrassing. But I feel like now I've come to realise that the numbers always just go up and down. Like you might have a viral video and gain loads of followers, but then you might go down in followers for ages. And I've gone down enough times to learn that it will always go back up as long as you're, you know, being consistent and posting content, which I do always do. And I think the main thing that I've learned that is so important is it's really nothing to do with the numbers, especially in terms of earning money. You could have 1 million followers but not be earning as much as someone with 10k followers. Like honestly, it's more about like your community and whether they comment and like on the post. But again, that is numbers, so then you can start stressing about whether you've got a community in your posts. But I think just trying to, like you said, talk to the people that follow you like you do with your knitting content, and like try and make it more of a two-way conversation than just a one-way conversation. If you're just shouting out to random people, they don't know you, they don't care what you have to say. Whereas if it's like a two-way conversation, like let's both talk about this makeup product or this hair thing or whatever, then it can be like a better way of looking at things. And like I feel like with the numbers, if you've got 30 people every post that really care and are talking in the comments, that's going to feel way better than just like 30 bot accounts liking your post and not commenting about it.
What would you say to someone, because you were just saying about how you were so happy that you got on TikTok in 2020, what would you say to someone who wants to start now and feels like they're behind the times now because TikTok has been around for like however long?
It is really hard, and I feel like now there's so many creators, like even me, someone that's already got a following, I find it much harder to get like, you know, views and stuff, and you have to work. I have to be more clever about like what I'm posting. And I would say, I think one thing that I feel like I've been hearing a lot about, and that a lot of people that are creators I hear talk about at the moment, is Snapchat. I feel like Snapchat is having a revival, and maybe Snapchat is the place to be on right now. I feel like that is the new like TikTok. That's the thing that's about
I don't
to like
even have
Snapchat. Because on Snapchat now they have like a TikTok feed bit. Like they have a section with short form videos where you scroll through.
Do you post on there?
Yeah. So I've started posting on it, and you post stories. Of course, like Snapchat is where stories started. Instagram wasn't the first story. Snapchat was where it came from. So now you can like save story highlights, and you can see like if they're like a verified creator, it comes up with like other people you don't follow stories, and you can tap through them. So yeah, I feel like Snapchat maybe is the place to be.
Ooh, good tip.
Because
maybe I'll get on Snapchat.
Yeah, because especially
I have no idea how to use it.
If you already post on social media and you've got a lot of videos just in your camera roll that you've already posted everywhere else, you can post them all on Snapchat. And Snapchat, even when I had like 2 followers, the videos would get quite a lot of views.
I guess because there's just way less competition.
Yeah, there's way less creators on there. So if you post a video, it's pretty likely to go viral if you're posting it on Snapchat Spotlight. And also they have a monetization scheme on Snapchat where you get paid like per view. But it's quite hard to get into. I've been trying to get into it recently. I've actually just been accepted, I think. But you have to get a certain amount of followers and a certain amount of views in a month or something. It's kind of similar to the YouTube monetization scheme.
Because I had this really annoying thing when I was in Australia, like they don't have the TikTok Creator Fund in Australia. And so now that I've made my account as an Australian account, now that I've moved to the UK, I can't change it.
That's really annoying.
There's actually nothing I can do, and I've tried so many different things.
Except making a new account.
Yeah, the only thing I could do would be to make a new account, and I have like 150,000 followers on TikTok, so obviously I don't want to do that, but I'm starting to think maybe I should, but I don't know.
you only get paid on TikTok now for videos that are longer than a minute. So do you often make videos longer than a minute? Probably not.
Not really, but I could.
But like even for me on TikTok, my videos longer than a minute often don't do as well as my short ones. So the money I make from the TikTok Creator Fund is not much.
Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
But then I guess if you just tailored your content to that,
yeah, if you're a person who's always chatting and every video is a voiceover or a chatty video, then you could probably make a lot of money on that.
I have this weird thing where I'm like fully comfortable to record a YouTube video or like talk on a podcast, but the minute I like get a phone out and start talking into my phone for a TikTok, I like freeze up and I can't do it. What do you think that is? Like, that's so weird.
I don't often film like that. Like, I will film an outfit video where I'm stood further away. I don't know.
I find it hard to like talk to the camera if I know that it's going on like TikTok or Instagram, but I'm fine to do it for a podcast or for YouTube. It makes no sense.
What about a voiceover? You could do like a voiceover.
Yeah, I guess I used to do voiceovers.
That's a bit less scary.
Yeah.
I
don't know, maybe I should try that, but I'm not sure.
But yeah, I feel like Snapchat could be the new TikTok.
You heard it here first.
Yeah,
people.
Apparently that's what I've heard. And I have heard other creators at events telling me like they make a lot of money on the Snapchat scheme. I think it's better paid than most of the other schemes.
I guess then there's just less competition. Like that's the thing. Like that's why TikTok was so easy to break through back then, because I remember looking for art content or creative sort of content. There wasn't any. So I was like one of the I mean, I'm not to say that I was the first,
but I was the first TikToker ever.
No, I wasn't. But like, there weren't that many.
Yeah.
Whereas now there's like a million.
Unlimited. Yeah. I think another platform that people underestimate is YouTube Shorts. Yeah. I think that is a really good place to grow a following.
You grew your YouTube channel mainly through Shorts, right?
Yeah. So my personal YouTube channel has like 300,000 subscribers, which is crazy, and the long videos I post on there don't get many views. Well, like they get views, and I'm really thankful to all the people that watch them, but they don't get 300,000 views. And the reason I have that many followers on there is all from Shorts. And sometimes I'm like, oh, it probably looks like I've like bought followers or something, because I get so like the views on my long videos compared to my subscribers is like quite a big difference. But then when you look at my Shorts page, like I get a lot more views on my Shorts than I do on the long videos. And I think Shorts are quite an easy place to grow. It's the same thing with Snapchat. Like, there's just not as many creators posting stuff. Yeah, the content's a bit
rubbish on Shorts.
I feel like it's like a month behind all the trends that are like, first the trend starts on TikTok, then like in a month it'll be on Instagram, in another month YouTube will find out about it, and then in another month it'll go to Snapchat, and then like 6 months later it'll end up on Facebook, and that's like the end of the trend. Like when your mum starts talking about it on Facebook, like that's the end of the trend. But yeah, I feel like, what am I saying? But yeah, I feel like YouTube Shorts are a good place to grow, and you can get more views on that than you could do on TikTok.
I need to remember to post on there.
And also on YouTube Shorts, if you're part of the monetization scheme on YouTube, you get paid per view on YouTube Shorts. Which,
although it's a lot less than the main YouTube videos.
It's like 0.000 penny. But if you got 1 million views on a video, you might get, a few £100. Yeah. So it could be worth it if you put the effort in.
But yeah, I guess the thing for all of this is like, it's just about consistent effort, and so that is what you have to be willing to do if you want to try and grow. And there's a chance that you might just not grow. Like that's the other thing.
I always say my main piece of advice to anyone, if any of my friends or anyone in real life asks me how do you grow your socials, I say you have to post as much as possible consistently. Don't just post 20 videos in one day and then give up for 2 years and then start again. If you pick a schedule, whether that's once a week, 20 times a week, 100 times a week, whatever it is, and be consistent with it every single week. But I would say, obviously, the more you post, the more chance there is of you going viral. If you post, I would say, I don't know, this is not an exact maths. If someone posted like 500 videos on any platform, really, you'd think at least one would go viral, like a short platform. So whether it takes you a year to post 500 videos or 2 days, there's more chance of it happening if you're posting quicker. So I would just say try and find a schedule and then just be consistent. And the more videos you have up, the more chance of one of them going viral. And also, if you post a video on TikTok and it doesn't get any views and you're embarrassed and you delete it, do not do that, because sometimes you'll post a video and it will get hardly any views, and then 2 years later or 2 months later or whatever it is, some of my videos from 2020 get comments on, and I'm like, why is TikTok pushing out this video from 2020?
Or sometimes it will be through search. People will search for a specific thing, and your video might be the only thing on that topic.
Yeah, so even if at first it doesn't get views, then it might get views literally 2 years down the line, and that might be the reason you blow up in 2 years. So I would say keep up every single video you post, even if you feel embarrassed, even if you're like, oh my god, I want one like, I'm gonna delete it. No, keep every video up, post as often as you can, but obviously don't let yourself get burnt out. But if you're like determined to go viral, that is the best kind of plan, I would say. And then once you start posting a few videos, even if you're getting 10 views, one video type gets 12 views every time rather than 10, then you know, okay, 2 more people were interested in this topic, maybe I'll make more videos on that topic. And then you might get 20 views on the next one, and just see what does well on your account, and then you can start to kind of refine and like tailor your content to the things that are doing well. And I always think like 10 views, if there was 10 people in this room right now staring at me, I'd be pretty freaked out. That's a lot of people, you know? And it's the same thing with me. Now I'm getting like, if I get 100,000 views on a video, in my head now I'm like, okay, you know, that's happened to me before. But actually when I think...
That's like a football stadium.
That's like Wembley. That's like Taylor Swift at the Eras tour. Like, you know, it's crazy. If your video goes viral, that is so many actual physical people that are seeing that video, and I think sometimes it's easy to forget that when you're posting on social media.
Yeah, especially like on YouTube as well. Like you can look at, you know, I didn't get, you know, I might get like maybe 1,000 or 2,000 views, but if I actually look at the watch time, that's like hundreds of hours. Like people have sat there for hundreds of hours watching me ramble on about knitting. That's kind of crazy, and it's kind of fun, and you don't necessarily think about that when you're just like, oh, I'm not getting as many views as that person or whatever, or comparing yourself. But actually, like, there are human beings who are sat there watching your videos. It's crazy.
You're changing their life, and they're going to think about that video, like, you know.
Depending what your content is.
But I do think it's crazy, like, how if it's just 5 people, that's 5 people, you might have changed their lives. They might think about you forever. There's some videos I watch where I think about them all the time, like little hacks or like quotes and stuff. Like I always think back to those things. So you can really impact people's lives even if you think you're not getting many views. Okay, I'm gonna look at some of the questions that we got from you guys about this topic. Make sure you're following at mybigsisterpodcast on Instagram if you do want to ask any future questions for future videos. And also we're going to open up our email inbox if you do want to send in some like longer dilemmas, or if you want to make sure it's going to be anonymous, you can send it in on there. Yeah, if you want to rant, then we're going to go through our emails every so often and like see if any of them match the topics, or just, you know, answer them all in one long podcast. So I will pop it on screen if you are watching, and pop it in the description if you're listening. But yeah, let's see what you guys asked. Okay, the first question someone asked is how to deal with judgment from your family. And they said, love the podcast. Thank you for listening. Ooh. I feel like judgment is the main thing that stops people posting on social media. And I feel like I have so many friends where I'm like, you would be perfect on social media. Or like they have such a big personality and I know people would love them. Or like they have an interesting life, or whether they're just like so pretty. I'm like, wow, you should post. Like you would do great on TikTok. But people are so scared of being judged.
But also some people just don't want to, which is fair.
Yeah, but I do think, like, as I said, it is such a cool, great job, and you can make lots of money if you're successful. So I'm like, oh my god, you guys need to, you know, start posting on TikTok.
You're an influencer.
Yeah, I'm trying to influence people to become influencers.
But yeah, with the family thing, I guess it depends on how old you are, I guess. Like, whether you're living at home, I guess you would feel that pressure a lot more if you're trying to record in the house or your family's around. And even like, you know, sometimes I prefer to wait till my husband's out of the house to record. I don't know why, it's just like a mental thing. Like he's not like laughing at me or anything, but it's just like, weird.
If I post it, my boyfriend or whoever I'm living with
they'll
can
still
watch
see it.
They can hear what I see in the video.
They see like the edited version, whereas sometimes when I'm talking, like I'll just ramble or like say the same thing or whatever. So I completely get that. Like it is weird. Like it's weird if you're just like sat at home in silence and then suddenly you just start saying, hi guys! Like that's just weird. So it is quite strange, but I guess there are ways around it if it's like the embarrassment of filming, like you were saying, voiceovers, or just filming clips and then like putting text on screen and stuff. But if it's more like your family in general are just against it, I guess that is quite challenging. And I guess the main thing would be to just try and have a conversation with them and be like what aspect of this are you not
don't you agree with
enjoying?
I mean, if you're like young and you're wanting to post maybe inappropriate things or like post things that aren't safe to post, then I can understand what your parents are coming from. But I think some parents just really don't understand it, and like I know even our mum, like she didn't really understand what Instagram was, and like she would always say to me like, make sure you have a private account. And
then, you've had some interesting conversations about certain things.
I think it's just tricky when it's like, obviously you don't want your children like posting things that might get them in harm's way, and like there are some really creepy people on the internet, and it's the same with just like, you know, safeguarding your children from speaking to strangers online, but it's a whole nother thing of like posting videos that strangers are going to watch and stuff like that. But I think once you're like 16, you should be able to post what you want to post online, and like if your people you're living with have a problem with it, just don't tell them, or just make an account that they're not following. Like, as long as you're, you know, doing everything appropriately, then I don't see a problem with posting videos.
I think also maybe trying to talk to them about why you're doing it and why you want to do it.
Yeah, show them some of your favourite YouTubers, or like show them people that are successful, or people that have gone on to, you know, be, I don't know, like actors, or like, I feel like a lot of like musicians start on TikTok.
Or not even necessarily like you want to do it to make lots of money, but, you know, whether that's like I was saying, a community, or
being creative,
like an outlet, like even editing videos is a skill in itself, and it's something that can be useful in a job later on if you want to go down that road.
It's actually like work experience, making a TikTok.
And being
like,
a social media manager is like
a
very
job,
common, well-paid job. So there are lots of things that you can say to kind of make it make sense to people. But it is weird for people who don't understand it, especially slightly older people who have not grown up with it. It's like the concept is quite alien to them, so it can be a little bit difficult to explain. But I think if there's anyone like younger especially, sometimes people can be a bit judgmental because they're actually jealous.
Yes.
So
I think that's
something else to bear in mind as well.
That happened to me when I was working in one of the jobs I had when I was in sixth form, and I first started posting, and I think it was like it'd been locked down, and then I went back to that job, and it was like in that period where they kept being locked down and then not locked down. But I went back to my part-time job, and one of the managers there had seen my videos, and I remember her saying, she was like an older lady, and she said like, what does your dad think of that video of you in that dress or something?
Oh my God.
Because I remember I got gifted by a brand that's resold Gossip Girl outfits that had been worn in the show.
That's
so
cool.
I made a video in like one of Serena's dresses. Like it was a Eve, I can't remember the designer brand. It's like Heave something bandage dress. You know the popular
Legend. How do you say it? Herb Ledger.
And I can't believe I didn't keep it.
You actually got a Hervey Ledger dress.
Bandage dress.
For free.
The same one that Serena Vanderwood's wore on the show.
You didn't keep it.
I'm pretty sure I don't have it. It might be somewhere. It might be at my parents' house.
They'll definitely come back into style. I hope it's at my parents' house.
It was like burgundy. It wasn't like my favourite colour combo.
Not your colour season.
The actual dress, I was like, wow, this is crazy, because Serena wore it in the show. And I posted a video.
Was it the actual one?
No, not the actual one. Okay. It was the same
just
one.
Just the same
that
style.
Had been worn on screen.
But not like her physical one. It hadn't
like
touched her body.
Dress. No, it was just the same one that had been in the show. And I posted a video in it, and this manager at work was like, had seen it on, because I didn't realise at first that like Instagram Reels automatically posted to Facebook, and I had like all my work people on Facebook. So then she saw it, and at work she was like, what does your dad think of that video?
That's so weird. Like, why is it your dad's business?
Yeah, and at the time I was 18. Like, first of all, it was not an inappropriate dress at all. It was just, you know, a bodycon
bandage
dress. But it was quite long. It was like knee length.
It was like the kind of dress that millennials would wear business casual to the club. Like...
Yeah, that sort of dress. And I remember her saying that, and I just felt so like awkward and like embarrassed, and like I was like, why are you bringing up my my dad's fine with my videos? Like,
rude, by the way.
And it's just really weird to like bring up my dad.
If that woman's listening, like, why do you think our dad has anything to say about that? Like, it's not his business.
Yeah, he doesn't care what we wear. Like, our dad's not really strict at all, so it's not like he, like, I don't understand what her issue was. But yeah, I think that probably came from a place of jealousy, because I was getting gifted a nice designer dress.
Exactly.
And I was young.
And you looked good in it, and she was like, I wish I looked like that wearing that dress.
Maybe, yeah. I mean, I'm not going to comment on her thought process, but yeah, I remember Ella was there at the time, my friend Ella, and I remember we just looked at each other like, what do we say in this situation?
What did you say?
I think I was just like, yeah, he doesn't mind trying to change the subject.
Okay.
Because at that time I was still like embarrassed of people seeing my videos. But shortly after that I left that job. And I remember when I left that job, people at the time I worked with were like, Grace, are you quitting to do social media full time? And I was like, no, I'm leaving for a job at Sainsbury's. Because I left, that was in my gap year, and I started working at Sainsbury's then.
You should have just lied, and then if they saw you in Sainsbury's, just hide your face.
Yeah, and I remember thinking at the time, like, wow, that is crazy that they would actually think I would be earning enough to quit my job to work social media full time, whereas I was really just working in a supermarket then. But yeah, it's funny because now that is my full-time job, and I think that lady still works at that job. No shade though, but I think she was just maybe being like protective, but it was kind of backhanded comment. Yeah.
How long would you say it took you, like how many years from when you started posting to you could actually like earn a full-time wage? I don't even know what that is.
So I started posting in 2020 properly, and then I feel like I'm going to get these timelines wrong. I'm pretty sure after 1 year I hit 10k on Instagram. Another year later I had 50k on Instagram. Then I think another year later I had 100k, and then a year later I had 400k, and then now I've got 600k. So it kind of like doubled almost every year, and obviously at first it was smaller increases, and then suddenly it doubled to like a lot. And I think I first got like a social media management when I had like 50k on Instagram, and that's when I started earning like more consistent money from it. But even then I wasn't earning enough to pay rent. Like I was still living with my parents then. I think the time I started properly earning enough to pay rent is when I moved out to my apartment for the first time. But I tried to make sure I was earning enough before then. I remember I saved up 6 months rent, because the landlord that I was signing up to, you basically were signing up for at least 6 months. So I thought to myself, well, if I make no money these first 6 months, at least I've got this money in the bank so that I know I can afford to pay my rent every month. And then if I have to go back home after 6 months, I'll go back home, or get a normal job. So then that's when I started to have that money saved up. And then when I was living at the flat, as I think I've said this before in a video, how I actually started earning more money when I moved out, because I had much more freedom to make much more videos, and I started working with like different brands because I had my own kitchen. I could then post videos of me cooking and just all different things, and I never had to use that money I'd saved. I always was able to pay my rent every month with the money that was coming in. So that's when I first started earning, I think, enough money, and I realised I could pay all my bills with it. But the first 6 months of living at that flat, I also had my student loan paying some of my rent, obviously, because I had my student loan because I was at uni, but my student loan didn't cover my rent, so it just about covered my train fare, and then it covered a little bit of my rent, and then the rest of my rent I was paying myself. So yeah, that's when I first started earning proper money, and that's when I had I think 100,000 followers. Yeah. But it really just depends. You could be earning a lot of money with 10,000 followers, and I think it just really depends on how engaged you are, whether your content is actually good. Well. Yeah, when I had 50k on TikTok, I was a Gossip Girl account. Now, what brand's going to want to work with a Gossip Girl account? I got gifted those lovely designer dresses from the Gossip Girl vintage seller, but realistically it's what brand makes sense for a Gossip Girl page?
It's too specific.
Yeah, and I feel like it's if you niche yourself down too small, it's well, what brands would actually fit in with this content? Whereas now, because I post a lot more range of stuff, it's I post a lot of fashion, but then I also post what I eat in a day, so I might want to work with a food brand. I post beauty stuff, so I could work with a makeup brand. There's just a lot more range of stuff I can do, and it really just depends what sort of content you make. And there'll be some people I see on TikTok with 2 million followers, but the sort of content they make, it just wouldn't work for brands. So I think it just shows you that numbers don't specifically mean money.
Yeah.
Someone said, what do you recommend to buy if you're starting out with content? I guess they mean equipment-based stuff. I think this is something that a lot of people that want to be content creators or influencers, they'll buy loads of this expensive equipment, and then it's
you just need a phone and a window with light coming in.
Yeah,
that's about
honestly, I mean, this podcast we film on phones. The close-up shots are filmed on phones.
Yeah.
Obviously we have these mics.
The wide shot is actually
on a camera.
But
majority of my content I post is all from my singular phone.
Yeah.
Like, my YouTube videos I used to film on my phone for like the first like 5 years, and then last year I got this little Canon flip shot camera that was like £300. But that's the only like professional equipment I have really, apart from the podcast mics. Like, I don't have a big DSLR camera. I literally just have my phones. And I honestly think if you're posting like short videos, people are going to engage with them more if they are phone videos.
If they look like you film them.
There are exceptions, but I think most people, like, if you're wanting to be relatable and like talk to people, you know, so it feels like you're on FaceTime with your friend, people don't want to see like a really cinematic shot.
Like on TikTok, the videos that do well are like people all like crusty in their bed, like half
just
asleep,
random videos,
just filming.
Yeah. You don't need like a big ring light. You don't need loads of equipment. I would just say, you just need to be in natural light. So go stand by a window, maybe get a little tripod for your phone.
I think
would help.
For YouTube, and especially if you're talking a lot, I do think having a little clip-on mic is quite good. But you can get them quite... Yeah, but I feel like your audio for your YouTube could be better, no offence.
I got more subscribers than you.
Yeah, but you're quite echoey.
Okay, anyway.
But you did actually post with that mic, with these mics once, and that was really good, because I was like, yes, Grace is finally improving her YouTube audio quality.
Yeah, and then the next video I was like,
but then maybe I'm just like a bit fussy because I just know a lot about like audio things.
Think most platforms, people were listening to the video out of their phone. Your phone, like, speaker isn't that good. So unless you're watching all your videos on some big cinema screen with a boombox.
Well, most iPhone microphones are quite good now. Like, I actually used to record my voiceovers for my YouTube videos on my phone microphone, and as long as you don't like blow into it and make it go like funny, then it's pretty much fine. And I don't think you really need. The main thing is to just avoid like really strong echoes. Like, maybe don't record in your bathroom if it's really echoey. But overall, like, I think it's pretty easy to start off. The main thing is your personality. That is the main thing. So you can't really work on your personality, but I think just like practicing over and over, like just speaking out loud.
I think one piece of equipment I would actually recommend is getting a MagSafe. If you have an iPhone, like a newer iPhone, getting a MagSafe tripod, like a little tripod. Actually,
oh yeah, we have one there. I've got one of those. It's quite good.
Right, yeah, this is like just a little stand thing for your phone. And if you're watching this, you'll be able to see. If you're listening, I'm sorry, but I'm just explaining my MagSafe tripod. And it basically goes like that on your phone, and it's magnetic. But you just need to make sure that the phone case you're using has like the magnet in, or you can just take your phone case off and it'll work. But yeah, these are really good because it's so quick to just, you don't have to like.
And there are also those like
the little Octobuddies,
the little sticky things so you can stick it onto windows and stuff.
Yeah,
although
really
I've had issues with those like falling off. I don't know if I'm using them wrong.
What I do with the Octobuddies is get the double-sided ones, because then you don't have to actually stick it to your phone. Because I use those MagSafe tripods, I didn't want to actually stick an Octobuddy to my phone case, so I got a double-sided one, so it's actually stuck to your phone. And then you stick it to the wall, but you can take it off both those things.
Where do you stick those most of the time?
I don't use my Octobuddy that much. I mainly use it if I'm like out and about, like in London or in my car or somewhere where I don't have my little tripods
where
with me.
There's like windows everywhere.
Yeah, like if there's a surface where I can't put a tripod down, like if I'm in a cafe and want to stick it to a window, then it makes sense to have
I'm sure they'll be happy with you doing that.
Yeah, but yeah, most of the time I'm carrying around one of my little tripods, or I have an Octobuddy. They're the two things I would say are worth it.
Yeah.
But yeah, apart from that, just use
it's
your
more
phone.
about getting the angle rather than like a really high quality camera or anything.
Yeah.
And most iPhones are such good quality now.
Even
anyway.
Like a 5 or 10-year-old iPhone, I feel like iPhones haven't even changed that much. So even if you've got like an iPhone.
But use the back camera.
11 or something, yeah.
That's Grace's tip.
I don't use the back camera.
Oh really? You just use your front camera?
No, I use it to film like YouTube videos, but when I'm filming TikToks, I like to see what I'm doing.
It's really annoying, isn't it, to not be able to see?
Yeah. I for all my like shorts and stuff, I'm using the front camera, because normally I'm like.
Well, that's good to know, because I was trying to film, because not to mention knitting again, but I was trying to film like a blocking like before and after like video of my knitting, and I was trying to use my back camera because I thought that's what you did, but that's good to know, because now I can just use the front camera. iPhone... It was so annoying. I was like turning it around and it was like the wrong angle, and I was like, how am I supposed to see? And then I was trying to like put a mirror so I could see what like the phone was doing, but it's too annoying.
Because the iPhones film in 4K on the front camera, I'm like, well, why do I need
I've just heard that the lens isn't as good, but maybe I'm wrong. Like maybe it's not as bad,
but it's not bad enough to warrant using the back for me.
It's more about the lighting, isn't it?
As long as it's good lighting. If I'm in terrible lighting, I will use the back camera, but I'm not often filming in bad lighting. Like I just make sure to film my videos when it's a sunny day.
Well, I feel like I'm just having a social media like counselling session now.
It's like therapy for Josie's page. I'm helping her out.
You're a consultant.
Yeah, I should be.
Live on this podcast.
Yeah. Anyway, we are running out of time, and my back is hurting from sitting in this chair, so we're gonna go. But I hope you guys really enjoyed this episode. Hopefully it did help you, and as we said, make sure to send in any dilemmas to our new email address,
mybigsisterpodcast@gmail.com.
If you do want to send in any dilemmas, they will all be anonymous. But yeah, I hope you guys are having a really good week. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Make sure you're following the podcast on Instagram and TikTok if you want to see our little clips at My Big Sister Podcast. And if you want to follow us on our personal accounts, mine are all at Grace Tutty.
And I'm Josie B Tutty on Instagram and Josie Violet on YouTube.
Right,
hey, I remembered it this time.
Yeah. Right, well, I hope you guys enjoyed, and we will see you next week.
Bye,
Bye guys.